The press coined them the Flying Imams, a case that we covered extensively right here on this show. Now a member of their mosque is breaking his silence, claiming a hidden agenda and anti-American sentiment by the Imams.
Last November, 6 imams were pulled off a U.S. Airways flight in Minneapolis for what has been described as bizarre behavior. The imams say they were discriminated against because of their Muslim heritage, but the captain of the plane and many of the passengers on board say that their behavior was too odd to be ignored. The so-called Flying Imams and their friends at the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE, are suing the airline and the Metropolitan Airports Commission for discrimination. These acts have so enraged some members of the Muslim American community that they are taking a stand and now speaking out against the Flying Imams.
I would say that it was a exploited incident that, while their intentions are between them and God, for all the world to me seemed to be pre-planned, seemed to at least be staged, and that they exploited the victimization scenario that was happening then, and was not about spirituality, was not about doing what's best for Muslims.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is chairman of the board of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, which represents thousands of Muslims nationwide. He is also a former U.S. Navy lieutenant commander, and Dr. Jasser says that the Flying Imams and organizations representing them orchestrated this event for pure publicity.
They were pulled off the flight in Minneapolis. They immediately called CARE. Next thing, you had the local media in Minneapolis interviewing them and having a press conference right there. All of a sudden, you had Omar Shaheen, one of the leading imams, from what I understand, grabbing one of the media and taking him to the ticket counter as he was demanding to be given another ticket on another flight. And you see this spiritual person demanding to be given a ticket on another flight. So it all seemed orchestrated, that they were more playing to the media than they actually just wanted to get home. And it was also interesting how then when they got off the ground in Phoenix, when they finally were able to get on a flight, they had to go to a different airlines. You had this huge welcoming party with the CARE chapter in Arizona, as if they had just come back from a pilgrimage, which I think is just ridiculous.
Dr. Jasser currently resides in Arizona, which is also home to the 3 main imams involved in this case. He has personally known these men for almost a decade and has attended their sermons at the local mosque.
When I first moved to Phoenix, I would go to his sermons in '99 and 2000, even before 9/11. I was extremely upset with how political they were, constantly talking about foreign policy, about Israel, about Palestine, and all these things that I feel have nothing to do with my faith, nothing to do with why I take time out of my office seeing patients to go to mosque on Friday. But yet he exploited his pulpit in order to demagogue the groups that would come and listen to him.
I'm asking the people to respect the Constitution of America that says I have a freedom of religion, freedom of belief.
Marwan Saadudeen is another imam in the Phoenix area, and again, part of this lawsuit. An individual that I've again heard. It's interesting, he was giving a guest sermon at a mosque I was attending in Phoenix right after this lawsuit was claimed that it was going to be filed in November '06, and he said that he would rather be dead than had been pulled off an airplane. And he said this on Friday at a Friday sermon to hundreds of Muslims listening. He said he'd rather be dead than be pulled off an airplane in handcuffs. So to me, that's hardly something a spiritual person would say. It is an example of how just exaggerated and hyperbolic their victimology is. Not to mention, I've seen him articulate defense for Hamas in the media. He hasn't been able to articulate that Hamas is a terrorist organization, and has invoked conspiracy theories that are just completely ridiculous and radical. So, yeah, I have a number of problems with Mr. Saadudeen.
It's the worst moment in my life. It's the taste of this moment. I cannot forget it in my life. This is terrible.
Omar Shaheen is another one of the imams listed in the lawsuit. He was actually the president of the North American Imams Federation, which is an interesting group of a couple hundred imams that have formed to try to, again, stake their leadership over the Muslim community, and also was the chair of the Imams Council in Phoenix. And he was actually the person that we tried to deal with when we tried to get the Imams to endorse and help us with our rally against terrorism. And he refused to do so. It's also interesting that he's been affiliated with organizations like the Holy Land Foundation and Kind Hearts, which have been shuttered by the Department of Justice. He was their representative in Arizona, and has also been on radio and publicly having a difficult time not only condemning Hamas, but seem to be endorsing them.
Dr. Jasser says the case reaffirms to him and to fellow Muslims the ongoing internal battle for the hearts and minds of Muslims in America.
I think that this flying imam case is a snapshot of the struggle within the Islamic community of who is going to stake leadership. And they use victimology. They use this case to say that we are not only the victims, but we are also the leadership. We speak for our own ideas, we speak for our own spirituality, and that we will not allow Islamists to lead our community, and we are not in denial like the Islamists are.